Here we have verse 34 of the 8th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus has been asserting to these who are listening to his conversation with religious leaders that those who would continue in faith in him would be his true disciples, that they would know the truth would set them free, and of course that is a kind of triggering statement in which they invoke their national pride that they'd never been enslaved to anybody, which was of course not quite correct, but nevertheless was part of the self-image that they had entertained down through the years. And so he is asked the question by them, how can you therefore say that if someone continues in the faith in Christ that they would be made free? And Jesus, of course, cuts now to a much deeper level as he gives this well-known response that we find now in verse 34. Apokrithe, from apokrinomai, deponent verb, I answer, normally takes the dative as we find it here. This is the third person singular aorist active indicative, so he answered, autois, dative case, masculine, plural dative, so he answered them, ho Jesus, subject of the verb. And then these very weighty words, amen, amen, that he will use as a preface when he wants to attach peculiar weight to what he's about to say, and obviously the statement that he makes at this point is well worth that kind of weight. I mean, I say to you, this is lego, first person plural, present active indicative of that verb. Humen, I say to you, the second person dative plural pronoun, I say to you, hoti. Conjunction means that, or because, here it means that. I say to you that. Pos, this can be all or every, depending on the grammatical construction. Here in the singular, it's going to be every, so every ho poion, every the doing. Poieo, I make or I do. This is the participle, masculine singular nominative participle, so doing, everyone who does, or every the doing one. Tain hamartion, the sin, everyone who does the sin. Been a little bit of conversation among commentators as to what exactly is intended by the sin, as if it's some particular kind of sin. I think the better idea is simply that sin is sin, and that anyone who does sin of some kind or other, anyone who will engage in some sort of disobedience to God, has given evidence of what Jesus goes ahead and says here, doulos, the word for a slave. It's the noun form of the word that was used in the previous verse. A slave, estin, he is, tes hamartias, of sin. So the one who does sin is a slave of sin. In other words, the state of being a slave is not so much a matter of national status, it's not a matter of some kind of social condition or some such thing, but rather it goes much deeper. And the real state of being a slave is, of course, evidenced by the condition of being a slave of sin, a theme that Paul, of course, develops in some detail himself in his writings, but certainly the idea is not at all foreign to Jesus.